This is a fly I want to show everybody how to tie. I call it the LTD Daytime Spinner. I'll go through my reasons for it, but basically there's a certain stage in the evening rise before the light is actually gone where the trout actually come onto the sherry spinners, and using a traditional spinner, or my favourite spinner, which is the Richard Woods PPS polyprop spinner, I find that in the light the trout become very fussy and ignore them, and personally I think it's because of the harsh bright oranges, and the Tiemco wings are too harsh, too big, not like the natural. So basically at the light, when it's still light, I've gone to go really down the very natural size imitation, as in make it look more like the real thing. Once the light finally goes, I then change over to the traditional PPS spinner. But this, at that stage, it's a bit of a one-hit wonder. Once you've had a few fish from it, it does get a bit battered. So that's when I really changed to the other spinner. But I'll show quickly how to tie it, as this fish has caught me some serious fish this season. So first of all, if I can try pick one up, we've got a partridge SLD, which is a size 20, which I've found to be the right size for my spinners in Derbyshire and Staffordshire. So I'm going to thread it right down the back. This thread's a very fine thread. It's a fish on white thread. I use this for everything because it just buries and hides. So there's a little ball on the back, that's very important. That's been shown on a lot of flies. If you don't know it over the years, it's a very effective method, and that's why. On the tails, the natural has probably, I think it's three the blue-winged olive, and a lot of other spinners have 2. I'm going to put a group of, say, 8, 9, 10, and the reason for that is it holds the fly up better in the water, it lands softer, and it creates a buzz. So I'm going to go about 1.5 times longer than the fly. When you're doing this, do experiment with different sizes of spinners, because it can be the difference between catching fish or not. So there you go. If you notice the ball on the back, I splayed the tails out. I've actually tried using these with 3 tails and being even more identical, and I've proved to myself that they actually don't work better as splayed, a lot of splayed tails. A lot of the wranglers will tell you that. So the tails are just a white hackle, just a cheap white Indian hackle, nothing flash. So I'm just going to build up a slight taper. It's not something I'm overcritical about. So next stage is the peacock eye. This one's from Cook's Hill, and it's only about £1, £2 each, and they dyed orange. It looks quite harsh there, but when I've done the strip quill, it is very, very on the same levels as the natural. So you can buy strip quill done, but I'm too tight, so, and I haven't got the money. So, but what I generally do is just pull one off the eye, and then I've got a rubber from Tesco. little pencil rubber, and then I will basically, you can't see here, I'll show you how long it takes me to do. Just stroke it down the table, let it flat on, and you'll get rid of 80% of the little, and then I usually just run my nail down. Doesn't matter if you've got a bit left over on it. I sometimes think it can actually help. Snip off, and then now we'll tie it in at the back end. You want the black facing the rear of the hook. It doesn't really matter. This is quite tricky here. There you go. So, rid of a taper if I can. And then what I'm going to do now is wind up giving the tapered look. Of the natural. It's a very, very good colour, this, for the natural. This can be quite tricky. I'll be making this up with the camera in the way. So I've just caught it in there. Snip that off. I'm using a size 20 hook here, so it's quite fiddly. A lot of people use bigger hooks to show on video, but I might as well show it how it is. So we've got the splayed tails and the peacock herl eye is wound up, giving the same look, same colour. We're getting there with it now. Right, now the next part, I've got a big bag of booby eyes, which is here, different colours. You don't have to do this, but I do notice with some people, a lot of people who are taking out fishing, they have got bad eyesight, and when you start going down to these levels, size of hooks, you cannot see them. Luckily I'm still at the stage where my eyes are absolutely perfect still, but I do notice people need to see the fly, so I'll show you how to. These are just a standard booby eye. Basically I'll cut some off, and then I'll split it in the middle, down the middle, and then I'll split again, as you can see, and that's given me a very small post there. I keep spinning this thread because it comes apart, and it's good stuff because you can play with it and trap stuff in it or have it very fine. So basically now the wing's going to go in front of the post, so I'll tie the post in a touch further back. The reason for I put it just this. The reason I put it just behind the wings is so it doesn't ruin the profile of the fly. As we know, the fish are looking on it from that angle. So we've got the bit of bulk that it puts up there is basically the thorax. Right, now the next bit, just quickly, I don't be going on for ages. As we know, with CDC, people use the top wing there for do F-flies, duns, and they end up with a lot of waste. Well, I've found that this part here, not the tip, this part, down the bottom end, is actually better CDC than the top one. And so basically what you do is you pull them off, just keep pulling them off and lining up what I'd call the bad ends, and then keep getting all your other feathers, your old feathers. The longer the better, really. Doesn't really matter. There's no need to go over the top here, just Keep peeling them off. And then what you do is, once you've got them, you just wet your fingers slightly and just roll them up. It'll feel like you're making a mess of the CDC, but really you're making a tiny little sausage. So now, the next part, once it's rolled into that sausage, I've got it there. I'll just go and put a slight bit more on. You find these float like a cork using this part of the CDC. So now, spin my thread. I've got the sausage I've made here. Drop it in there. I think most fly tyers will know what I'm doing now, but this can be very tricky. Bollocks. So as you can see, I'm tying it in. I'm having problems because the camera's right by me. So you want to try and figure of 8. It all looks a bit of a mess at the moment, but trust me, it won't do. There you go, something like, get my nail in, I'll just touch it back slightly. I'll just tighten into it. Now that looks a right mess, but believe me, I've used the leftovers CDC, which really does float like a cork. And what I'll do now, I've actually caught the natural. This might seem a bit mad, but I've actually caught the natural wing from a sherry spinner, and I know what sort of length I'm using. Very, very critical. So I'm trimming off, as you can see. Try and get the wings nice and level. So now, even though it's quite scruffy, I can guarantee you that is going to give a perfect profile. And they float really well. I'll just trim the post down. There you go, a bit of a sighter. Sometimes I don't fit them. If I'm really on clued up fish, I won't use the sighting post. I'll just tie this off. At this size it does get quite finicky. So, and they're off, and there we have the finished fly. What I do have on the white thread, I get a bit of white on show, just touch it there with a bit of black marker pen to hide the white thread. So there we have it. The only thing I do sometimes is, if you cut, if you can see there on the wing on a natural, if you just cut across the back of the wing there and there, it makes them shape more like the natural. Believe me, some of the fish I've been catching, unless it's absolutely immaculately presented, the right fly, the right sort of conditions, you will get the take. Splayed tails, there it is. Same again. It doesn't look anything absolutely amazing, but I can guarantee you this will catch your fish all through the day. Living the dream.